Hello from sunny Utah, where the low temperature is 9 degrees today. It's a chilly day in Utah. I'm Chrisella Herzog. I'm the CEO of Humble and Hustle Studios, and this is our weekly Lunch and Learn. We host these lunch and learns to help small businesses, learn some of the tips and tricks that can help with your social media marketing, your digital marketing, make all of that a whole lot easier for you, as well as some of the industry updates and things that might be coming down the pipeline that'll affect you. And today is one of those industry update videos. We're going to be talking about data privacy laws. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the GDPR, which is something I've talked about a little bit in previous videos, but we're going to be talking a lot more just about the GDPR today and how the GDPR is going to affect your business. All right, so let's get started. GDPR. About a year or two ago, this was a law that came into effect in the European Union. Now, at this point, if you are an American small business, you're probably thinking, oh, I don't need to listen to this. I'm going to tune out. But that's not the case, because the GDPR probably affects you too. If you have any sort of business with the European Union, even if it's just that one of your customers on your email list is a citizen of the European Union or of a country within the European Union, you fall under the GDPR. You're affected by it. So, and this is actually why I talk about in one of my previous videos not purchasing email lists, because these data brokers can say, oh yeah, we've cleared it. There's nothing in here that's gonna, there's no European Union citizens, nothing like that. They can't know that. They can't know that. They might be checking IP addresses, and that's the only way they might know. But what if there is someone who is a citizen of a European Union country living in LA or New York temporarily for a work project? You don't know. And if they are a citizen of that country, or if they're a citizen of the European Union, and you violate their data privacy, they can come back. They can come after you under the GDPR. So this is really important for really any business that collects data about their customers, even if it's just an email for a marketing list, to know and kind of understand. Now, before we get started, I do want to say, since we're going to be talking about data privacy laws here, I just want to make a quick disclaimer that I'm not a lawyer. If you think that you are affected by these laws, or you have any legal obligations under these laws, don't talk to a marketer, go talk to a lawyer and get that stuff figured out from them, because they're going to have a whole lot better information on what you can specifically do for your business to protect your business. I'm just here to give you a general outline, informational outline of what the GDPR is, so you can be aware of it. All right, so the GDPR, what even is it? It stands for the General Data Protection Regulation. I think I'm losing my mind today, but General Data Protection Regulation. And like I said, it is a law passed by the European Union. And it's one of the harshest data privacy laws out there. If you violate a consumer's data privacy, whether by allowing it to get hacked, or by even just adding somebody to the email list when they didn't want to be added to it, that sort of anything as simple as that, you can be fined for a lot of money, like $1 billion or 20% of your revenue, whichever one is higher. Yeah, so don't mess with the GDPR. Just get your data privacy practices into shape. So, like I mentioned, it affects all small business, and the whole point of it is giving control of data privacy back to the consumer, rather than putting it in the hands of companies who are collecting that data. There is a fruit fly here today. What that means is that you need to have systems set up in your business that allow customers to understand how you're using their data, why they are giving you why they should give you the data, whether that allows them to explicitly opt into things. And this is not like an opt-out situation. They have to explicitly opt into things, and how to remove their data from your data sets if they want to. So let's give an example of this. Email opt-ins. So this has been like a source of some controversy because like one thing that a lot of marketers do is they'll put a freebie up on the website, and then they'll say, if you want to get this freebie, then sign up for our newsletter and we'll send it to you. And that is a big no-no under the GDPR. Yeah, something that simple. So what can you do instead? Well, what you can do is you can have this on your website and say, hey, do you want this? Input your email into this little box and we'll send it to you. Then what some people try to do is they try to put a checkbox at the bottom that says, I want to receive email newsletters, and they have it checked by default. That is a violation of the GDPR, because all of these data things have to be explicitly opt-in. You can't force people to have to look for things to opt out. Those kind of tricky marketing things don't work. So what you have to do is if you have an email freebie, you can say, hey, sign up for hey, give us your email, we'll send you this little downloadable freebie ebook thing. Then when you get that, or when you get that email, you send it to them. And in that email, you can say, thank you for requesting this. Click this link to go download it, or however you want to manage that. If you would like to receive more email newsletters from us, and make sure that you're explaining the value in this email. This is your one chance to explain the value. So make sure that you're explaining the value in it, and say, if you would like to continue receiving our newsletters and updates from us, then click this link. So there you've already got 2 opportunities there in the process of people getting this email book or this little freebie thing to get people to opt into your email newsletter. So you've got the checkbox when they first sign in that they can check and sign up for, and then they have the sign up within that email that they send you. If at that point they don't sign up for your email newsletter, don't sign them up for your email newsletter. Don't do it. Just don't do it. You have to give people the opportunity to opt into that, as well as, and this has been something that's been law for a while, if you're sending out an email newsletter and you don't have an unsubscribe option, then you are technically violating U.S. federal law. So don't do that either. Seriously, don't spam people. Just don't. All right. So that's an example of how your business might be affected under the GDPR. Another example is if this is an example I actually experienced. So I had a website where you could sign up for a subscription. After the GDPR came into place, I used WordPress, and with WordPress, they had updated their systems to allow for a data opt-out, or a data, I can't remember what it's called, but for someone to request that their data be removed from our servers. So what I had to, and right after the GDPR came into effect, I actually got one of these data requests. And this is one thing that a lot of small businesses will be like, oh no, I'm never going to get one of those data requests. I got one as soon as the law went into effect. So yeah, you're going to get them. It was a very small website too. So, so WordPress had it set up in their update, or their updated version of WordPress, that somebody can go in and send a request to you. You have to respond to that. It's a pretty simple way to do it within WordPress. You just go in and you click that their data needs to be removed. It sends them a confirmation, and then it's gone. It's pretty simple. It just takes somebody actually watching for that and managing that. And so the reason I'm telling you this example is because the tools that you use, if they come from a bigger company, if you're not using in-house tools, they probably have these sort of processes already set up for you to manage your customers' data without it being a massive problem. So in the example that I gave of the subscription website, I updated WordPress, and it had the data opt-out functionality built into it, made it very easy. Because that customer had also joined my email list, I had to go in and make sure that it was removed from the email list. However, in that case, because I can only control what information I have in my email list, if the customer wanted his data removed from MailChimp entirely, he would need to send a request to MailChimp. So that's kind of, there are systems set up in these different data processors for you to do that. But for example, in MailChimp, I was able to go in and just delete that customer's data entirely. So there are these systems set up for you to be able to do that without making it a whole bunch of mess. You just have to have systems in place where you actually know where all your data is. And this is good practice anyway. So you're not like gathering customer data and making it vulnerable. You have to know, like, if you have a data breach, what is going to be affected in that data breach. And honestly, you should be planning to have a data breach at some point in your company's existence, because it's the number, like, there's two types of companies, right? There's the companies that have had a data breach, and then there's the companies that don't realize they've had a data breach. So it's going to happen. You have to plan for it. And the best way to make sure that you're ensuring the data privacy for your customers is to have good systems in place before you start collecting that data. All right. So another thing that I see small businesses doing is there are some of these tools out there for marketing that I think are just as sketchy as, say, buying an email list. And one that I can think of in particular is a data harvesting tool that you can actually use. You can go in and select a group of people who have Instagram profiles. Say you go to your competitor and find all the profiles of the people who are following your competitor. And then what this tool will do is it will download all the emails of those people who are connected on Instagram, so that then you can use that for advertising and that sort of stuff. Whew, yeah, that's very, very much a violation of GDPR, and I'm not entirely sure that's even it's definitely unethical. Please don't do that. It's kind of gross. But if you are, and if you are, if you happen to catch somebody up in that process that is a citizen of the European Union, you're in violation of GDPR, and that could be a big problem for you. A big problem for you. It's just a legal headache you do not want to deal with. So I think I talked about this a little bit in my previous video on email marketing. Just be ethical with people's data. Don't do these creepy gray market marketing things. It's not worth it in the long run. And think ahead about how you're ensuring your customers' data privacy, because what happens if you get hacked? If you get hacked and that ends up affecting your customers, say that that you leak their password and they get their data hacked, or they get their identity stolen or something like that. If they can trace that, trace their identity getting stolen back to your poor data privacy practices, what is that going to do to your business? I mean, forget about even the legal implications there. You have just violated the trust of your businesses, or of your customers. What, are they going to refer you to any of their friends? No, they're going to say, oh no, this company is terrible with my data and they got me, they got my identity stolen. Yeah, that's not good for your business. So don't do this stuff. Think ahead about your customer privacy. It doesn't take that much extra work to do it. It's just a couple of small things that you can do along the way to make sure that you are actually, being a good steward of your customers' data. So the other reason why I bring up some of these things and the GDPR and all that sort of stuff is because for small businesses in the US, there is a California data privacy law coming into effect on January 1st, 2020. So you've got 2 months to get ready for this. And there hasn't been a whole lot of publicity about it. And I think that a lot of small businesses are going to get caught off guard. So this law is called the CCPA, the California Consumer Privacy Act. And I'm going to bring up some notes here on, who it explicitly affects. So it has some specific rules. Oh, sorry, guys. It would help if I could type in things correctly to get my computer to wake up. All right. So the California Consumer Privacy Act has some specific regulations for how you need to manage customer data. Now, some of these regulations do not apply to super small businesses, but if you're a small business that plans to grow, or you're a small business that deals with a lot of customers with lower priced items, then it could end up affecting you in the long run. So the CCPA will affect businesses whose annual gross revenue is more than $25 million. If your organization receives, shares, or sells the personal information of more than 50,000 individuals. So if you have a company that's been in business for a long time and you have collected all of this data, if you have a massive email list of more than 50,000 people, this law is going to apply to you no matter what your revenue is. If your company earns 50% or more of its annual revenue from selling the personal information of consumers. So I mean, that one's pretty explicitly targeted at the major ad companies like Google and Facebook. But if you do that, then, you know, even if it's just like 51% of your revenue from your little app company that you run is coming from selling the data of your customers, then you fall under the CCPA. So you need to be aware that this is coming into place, and you need to make sure that you are, putting some data privacy practices into place. So what can you do with that? First, you need to make sure that you are being explicit about informing your customers that you are actually collecting their data, why you're collecting their data, and how you're going to use it. So give people the chance to opt into these sorts of things. Give people control of their data. Next, so consumers are going to have the right to know what you are doing with their data. So you need to have systems in place for when people ask, hey, how is my data being used, that you can actually give them an answer to that. Customers have the right to prevent businesses from selling their data. So this is already happening with Facebook. They are giving people the option to opt out of data tracking and having their personal data being sold. Doesn't mean you're not going to see ads. You'll still see ads. They're just not going to be personalized ads if you choose to opt out of that. Consumers can request businesses to remove the personal information. Just like with GDPR, those systems, you should already have those systems in place. But if you don't, now's the time to get them in place. And finally, businesses are prohibited from charging different prices of consumers if they chose to not have their data. So if you're making a lot of money off of your customers because you're selling their data, and somebody opts out of selling their data, so you're not going to make as much money off of that customer, you can't charge that customer a different price for your services than you charge the person whose data you're selling. So just to be aware of all of that. So that's kind of all like in the weeds. And if you are a small business in Utah, why should you care? Well, you probably have customers in California. And honestly, you should already be thinking about California laws with regards to your privacy, because there are already laws in California that require you to have specific information on your website in the privacy policy about how your website is marketed to minors, how your website is, how people can contact the people who are in charge of your website to get information about their data, all these different things. So if you don't have a privacy policy, you should be writing a privacy policy right now. You should be getting with an attorney and asking them, how does this new privacy law affect my business, and how can I work that into a privacy policy that's going to protect me and my business? So that's all I've got today. I hope that this kind of gives you some incentive to, think about your data privacy practices, think about how you're collecting customer information, and think about, what you're doing with your customer information when you're in marketing to people. So if you put the customer first and you think very seriously about being a good steward of their data, then it's going to be a lot better for your business in the long run. All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in to this week's Lunch and Learn. I will see you next week. Okay, it's being very slow to end today. Bye everyone.